And tonight, our 10-minute speaker is Dale from Prescott. Yes. Ow!
Thank you, man. Thanks. Hey guys, my name is Dale and I'm an alcoholic. Dale. My home groups, like I said, Bridge to Shore meeting, which I had the honor of being the chair for the last 3 months, and my sponsor is Mike Bennett down in Prescott, and my sobriety date is October 1st, 1992. So there's like about 23 shopping days left. And my wife hears that every morning. You know, Lisa was asking me, Lisa's my beautiful wife that's here with me tonight. She's asking me, did you think about what you were going to say? Did you think about what you were going to say? And, you know, Thursday night I was at a speaker meeting down in Prescott Valley. And, man, I had the perfect pitch when I was in that room. And then, you know, it just kind of is gone. Only have 10 minutes, so I real briefly what my drinking was like. It was, if you ever saw the movie Fast Time at Richmond High, I was like smoking outside issue and drinking beers at big, you know, beers at lunchtime, and then rolling out of the van and trying to take an algebra class and failing, you know, miserably. I was a pretty good student when I, you know, wasn't smoking outside issue, but and I played in a couple of different bands, and I was, you know, most of the time so drunk I, you know, didn't know what song I was playing. I got my driver's license the day I turned 16 years old. My dad was pretty good. We woke up at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going, come on, Dad, let's go. Come on, Dad. So I got my driver's license that day, and I think it was about 6 months later I was heading to Lake Havasu from Los Angeles. And I was driving a Volkswagen van, and me and my friend Mike White were driving the van down the freeway, doing the outside issue and drinking. You remember what Budweiser used to come in those little short round bottles? Just pitching them out the window. Just, you know, like nothing, like it was that, you know, nothing was happening, you know. The idea of any kind of consequence ever, you know, coming, being a problem, it never dawned on me when I was drinking. I just, you know, and I kind of had the habit of, like, if I was in a keg party like this and there was 100 people in this room, the cops would bust through the door and they would somehow run directly over to me, and I'd be going to jail. I'd be in handcuffs. It was just my luck, you know. I think God was watching out for me. But I got a drunk driving the day I left California and tried to make it to the Arizona River in Indio. And I was 16 years old. Things never really got any better with my drinking. I mean, I was getting, you know, drunk drivings all the time. Any job I ever had, I got fired. Any place I ever rented, I got evicted. Any girlfriend I ever had, somehow we broke up, and it was just a nightmare. My life just, you know, it was spiraling downward. And I remember one time standing in front of a judge, and I had tried to outrun a cop on my motorcycle, and my clutch was slipping a little bit. So I just dodged around a couple of corners and hunkered down. He come back and with his gun drawn on me, and I'm sitting in front of a judge once more, because I was always getting drunk drivings. It was, you know, nothing new for me to get a drunk driving and then going to drunk driving school, or being on probation, or coming back for a continuance, and, you know. And so the cop's, you know, pulling his gun on me, and I'm going to jail one more time. And the judge is, you know, he's looking at me, you know. He goes, you got to really take a long, hard look at your drinking, Mr. Whiteman. And I think I was about maybe 20 then. So for about another 17 years, I kept doing what I was doing. And I just, you know, life was getting miserable for me. Like, everybody that knew me didn't want to be around me. I would go to the outside issue, you know, dealer with a bunch of money, and he would look at me and say, "You're so drunk, just get away from here. Don't ever come back. Lose my phone number. Don't ever call me." And most people in my life had gotten to be about like that. So I was working as a framer. I finally settled into a job when I was about 30 years old, and I got pretty good at framing houses. And the guy I worked for, I was making $8 an hour. He looks at me, he goes, "Yeah, Dale, I'll tell you what, you show up here on time for the next 30 days, and I'll give you $1 raise, $9 an hour." 3 years later, I was still making $8 an hour. I just could not do it. And one day I showed up on a Monday and they're going, "What are you doing here?" I was, it wasn't in my, no, responsibility was not my forte. So I'm getting evicted from another place and I'm living with some guy and life is kind of miserable. And I meet some other cocaine dealer and he's going, "You know what, I got a place you can sublet." And he's on formal probation, and this little apartment was on top of a garage, and it was, about a mile away from the beach, maybe a half a mile from the beach. He goes, "I'm just using this so I can deal, my outside issue over at my girlfriend's house, but you can stay here for, I don't know, $250 a month or something like that." And I'm thinking, well, that's cool, so I'm having a big party on top of this rooftop garage, and ATF comes over, and here we go again. I was shooting off fireworks, and we had a keg going, and there was a band, and why are these guys always bothering me? I could not figure it out. So what happened is, this is about 1990, and things hadn't changed for me from the time I was cruising around high school, playing Smoke on the Water on an 8-track tape over and over, and smoking outside issues and falling out of my van. From 17 to 37, things had not changed. They just got worse and worse and worse. So the guy I was working for said, "You know what, Dale, I got a really good deal. I found this sailboat. For $500, you can buy this sailboat." And I'm thinking, well, it's not a speedboat, so I can hang out at the river and haul ass, but I'm not going to swear because it says foul language is not a sign of spiritual growth. But what the fuck? I'll buy a sailboat. And so I'm looking at myself, because it's hard to, be honest with yourself when you're in the middle of, partying. And I'm looking at myself thinking, you know what? I'm just going to hang out in my little sailboat, keep away from the cocaine dealer's house, keep away from the, I just did like recreational heroin. Or if you ever heard of PCP, it didn't matter what it was, but mostly it was alcohol was it, it was killing me. And so I'm, finally, take a look at myself, this ugly ass little ugly boat, it was $500 for a sailboat. But it had a slip in the marina. And so I'm thinking, you know what? I'm just going to hang out on my little sailboat, drink a little white Zinfandel, and then be good. Go to work on Monday, show up on time. And so about the second day of that revelation, I think, you know what? I'm going to take my little boat and cruise over to my buddy Rick's house. He lived on another boat a couple docks away. And I know that he has some outside issue. So I'm hanging out there for a little bit. I'm sailing back to my slip. And I pull into my slip like I wasn't, buzzed or hammered or nothing. I did a couple of those things. And I pull into my slip like I knew what I was doing. I motored into the thing, idled up to the slip, put my hand out the side, and came to a perfect stop. Thinking, man, I'm getting good at this. I only had the sailboat for a week. Never sailed before. I didn't take it out of the water yet. Out of the marina yet. But all of a sudden I hear, "Permission to come aboard." And I look back there, it's the Harbor Patrol. They had followed me from my friend's house, who they knew was a known dealer, and they followed me back to my boat. And I'm thinking, holy shit. And he has me up on the dock. If you've ever been on a dock, they're swaying back and forth anyway. So he's giving me like the drunk test. And I'm pretty good at it because I've done it hundreds of times. And so next thing you know, he can't arrest me and take me to jail in his boat. So he's calling the cops down. Redondo Beach cops come down. They're going, "We're sorry, Mr. Whiteman, but this guy is just relentless. He wants you to go to jail." And so I'm thinking, well, it's no big deal, you know. I'm in international waters, how much trouble could I be in? Little did I know, the next morning when I woke up in jail and went to court, the judges, if you ever been in front of a judge in court and he's looking at your paperwork and he's looking up at you and he's looking back down and he's looking up at you a little more pissed, and then he starts shaking his head, you know you're in trouble. So sure enough, because I had done drunk driving classes, lots of them, you know. Every Wednesday or every Tuesday I'd be going to drunk driving class. And one time I would go in there late and I smelled like beer and they were going to do a urine test on me and I just left. So they gave me, here's what we're going to make you do, Mr. Whiteman. You're going to do 300 AA meetings in the next 6 months. It's like, sure, no problem. I got a directory, a couple of different colored pens, and I just signed 300 meetings. And but this judge is looking at me, he's going, yeah. So I had been to a lot of drunk driving classes. So this judge is looking at me, and I'm thinking, he's going to, you know, drunk driving class number 27, and or whatever, not 27, maybe 12. So he goes, you're going to do 90 days in a rehab. It's like, holy shit. The bottom just dropped out, like the gig is up then. So anyway, I got 5 minutes, so I better get sober, huh? I go to rehab after I spent 30 days in jail because they didn't have any beds available in rehab. So I'm 30 days in county. They weren't letting me go home, so they, you know, about 4 weeks later, they stick me in the rehab. So I have like 28 days now. So I'm in the rehab, and there's no, you know, more sheriffs trying to, you know, because the sheriffs will jack you up back then. And so I'm in rehab, and people are like holding hands and doing meetings. And I went to I'd gone to a meeting in county jail, and this lady said, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you never have to feel that way. I thought, wow, that's the coolest thing I ever heard. And so I get into that rehab, and it's like, you know what, I got to take this thing seriously. So I'm almost almost got my 90 days in. I think I was like at 87 days, and they were tired of my shit, and they kicked me out of rehab. It's like, God damn, that one really fucked. So I pull up, I don't want to go to get a warrant and go to jail, so I pull up to the back of the courthouse where I always park, because there's always plenty of parking in the back of the courthouse, and here's the judge that sentenced me, pulls right up next to me. I go, holy shit. What's the odds of this? And I said, yeah, Your Honor, I got 110 days, but I got kicked out of rehab. He looked at me, said, you have 110 days? I go, yeah, 110. He goes, I'll tell you what, you're not in my division today, but if you have any problem there, you tell him to come down and see me. I got up to, you know, the judge, and he's looking at me, and they can't believe that I got 110 days. I can't believe I have 110 days. And he says, you know what? You just keep doing what you're doing. We're going to put you on probation. So I took the $110 I got for food stamps when they kicked me out of the rehab, went to my buddy's house, bought some lobster tails and some fillets, and spent the whole $110, and went to a meeting that night. And that was like almost 31 years ago. And I did what you guys said to do. I went to 90 meetings in 90 days. They made me the cleanup guy, the first meeting. I looked at them, I'm not going to be a cleanup guy. They said, that's all right, Dale, we're going to nominate you when you come back next week. It's like, what makes you think I'm coming back next week? So next week I was the cleanup guy. And then, you know, after that I was the literature guy, then I was the firewood guy, then I was the treasurer, then I was a secretary, and I just, you know, I kept suiting up and showing up, and I kept trying to help whenever I could. I cleaned out ashtrays back then. Everybody smoked like the Marlboro Man. Everyone. I mean, you couldn't even see across the room back then. And you know what? I smoked too. So about 5 years later, I buy a Harley Davidson. It's like, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm done with sailboats. I'm buying a Harley. Went to this group called the Putt and Sober Group. they ride up to Sturgis almost every year. Well, at least I did. And so I'm riding up to Sturgis one year, and it's like, when you're by the beach, you don't see antelope like you see here. You don't see like these clear, beautiful skies that we got here. You don't see like rolling waves of grass. Like when you get up into Montana, Wyoming, it's spectacular. They call Montana big sky country for a reason. So I get up there, I'm riding on my motorcycle. I look over there, it's like, what the hell is that? And this thing's like hauling ass. There's a few of them. They're running next to me. They're antelope. Just hauling ass. I go, this is the coolest thing ever. So I go on H&I panels and I tell these, poor saps that are, in treatment centers. Well, it's not that any of you guys are poor saps if you're in a treatment center. But I would tell people it's just like, it's the coolest thing ever. You go up into Montana riding on your motorcycle with a driver's license, a little bit of money in your pocket, a registration tag you haven't stolen from someone else, insurance. It's badass. And then you look over and you see antelopes doing 60 miles an hour right next to you with clear blue skies. You don't see that kind of stuff in a crack house in Lawndale. So fast forward, me and Lisa buy a little bit of piece of property over in Bullhead City a few years ago, and she looks at me, it's like, it's 120 here. We're not going to live here. You can't even go outside for 6 months out of the year. So he said, all right, we'll sell it. We can't sell the thing because someone had left a big F-450 on the thing. Other tweakers had stolen the hood, the dashboard, the bumpers, 2 of the tires. It's like, so I got to junk this thing, but they won't let you junk a car in Arizona unless you have the pink slip. I found out that the guy who had the pink slip lives in Prescott. So we're driving down here to Prescott. It's like, wow, look at that. There's antelope right there. We don't have to move to Montana or Wyoming where it's wintertime for 9 months a year. We'll just go to Prescott. So anyway, we've been out here for a couple years now. God has been so good to me. It's like he just keeps putting the most coolest things right in place, right at the right time. It's like miraculous how good God has been to me since the first day I got sober. And there's been ups and downs. It hasn't been all the best, but it's been pretty damn good. I haven't been into jail for almost 31 years now. That's a miracle. That is a miracle. And, and it's thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous and, just trying to give back, We're here in AA. Look around. I mean, we're the best we got. We are all we have, I've got closer to so many people in Alcoholics Anonymous. We are some damn good people. There's a couple people that might piss me off, but you know what? We're good people, And if I could say one thing, it's like, be good to yourself. Be good to yourself and be good to your brothers here, your brothers and your sisters, because, we're here to help you. There's been people that helped me like file taxes. There's been people that helped me buy a house. I had no idea. I didn't even think I could ever get a driver's license. I called up the DMV and this lady was in the program. Oh, sure. We can help you out. I did my first amends up in Las Vegas. I had stolen a pair of cowboy boots and wrote a hot check for it. I walk into this lady and said, I'm sorry, I stole cowboy boots about 10 years ago. She goes, honey, you go back to your sponsor and you just tell them that you're good with us. The coincidence that happened and God in my life is just absolute miracle. I hope every one of you guys just thrive. Thanks for letting me share.